Guys, all of you, good evening from India, late good evening, early good evening from Cindy in South Africa. Magda is not able to join today. She is not too well. So we are handling the session. Cindy will take over. She will lead the session. I'll be here to add anything as and when we need. Yeah, over to you, Cindy. Cindy? Hello? Hello? Okay. Yeah, looks like Cindy is frozen. Okay, so one of the things that we thought we would do is to, for you guys to come up with some, whatever that you are facing challenges in terms of your business development. What's working for you, what's not working for you. And some of you, let me know if you want to join the panel, because there are just two of us and Cindy's, she's just joining from another. Yeah, Cindy, I was just saying that you would lead and your presenting frame froze. So I've just asked them whether they would like to share with us some of the challenges that they are facing in developing their business. And so what is it that we can add value, and what is it other people there in the audience can also add value in terms of their experiences. If some of them want to join the panel, we can promote them into the panel. That's not a problem. So would you like to take over, please?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Ram. iCoaches, welcome to be with you. So I thought today, as Ram has just spoken to you about, we'll talk about some challenges, and then we'll do some idea generation on a very basic question. How do we get more clients? That's an interest to everyone, right? It's a commonality for most coaches. How do we generate ideas to get more clients? So let's start with the first part. What are some of your challenges or setbacks or things that are standing in your way in your coaching business? So you can type on the chat, or you can raise your hands and we'll happily include you into the panel. Nobody's got any challenges so far.
Clarifying niche, generating leads. Yeah.
But generating leads and ideas is what we're going to talk about today. Any other challenges?
Building credibility as a new coach. Alternative to social media. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ram, if I may ask you first, when you as a new coach, was this your challenge, generating new clients? Was that a challenge for you?
Yeah, it surely was a challenge, and I think that's a challenge for everybody. There's no question about it. Despite the fact I thought I had a huge network. In my case, I was out of India for about 20 years, and I came back here and I qualified to be a coach while I was here. So, I mean, it may apply to some, it may not to all. And what I recommend is that from a purely business perspective, what I said to myself was, who are the people who are going to give me jobs? And I mean, honestly, let's be very clear. There are many people who claim that they want to be life coaches, sure. But life coaching doesn't pay you. And for all of us, pretty much, if we are really serious about it, authentic about it, we need to generate business through executive coaching, which is where the money comes in. And as much time as you want to spend in life coaching, even if it's pro bono, that's fine. And if you look at executive coaching or business coaching, whatever name that you want to use, the people who give out the jobs are necessarily not the CEOs and the CFOs and the CMOs and so on and so forth, but really the guys, not even the CHROs, but the people who run the L&D departments or who are in charge of training. More and more, I think the training falls under as part of L&D, and these are the people who are the contact people who you have to qualify with to be able to do that. At the time when I started, credentials didn't mean really much. Every second guy who called himself a coach, or 19% of coaches were, there were only 3 PCCs in India and about, I think, 20 ACCs or something when I qualified, far different from today. And even globally at that time, ICF had about 10,000 members or less as compared to now 25 something. So that struggle was much more at that point in time. So the decision I took simply was to join a couple of institutions which had credibility in terms of human resources. In India, it was something called National HR Network. In the US, it could be SHRM, it could be maybe the other institutions, NIPM, and so on and so forth. There are multiple organizations out there, ISTDs and so on. ASTD, for instance, American Society of Training and Development. And so that helped me. Strangely, what really happened was, instead of taking me deeper into coaching at that point in time, it took me into coach training, because when I started working with them, a bunch of them got together and said that if you could train us to be coaches like you are, and if you're going to do that, we would like that very much. And so in a way that I didn't quite anticipate, I became a trainer, and rather than becoming a coach, and sort of this helped me, and it was like a virtuous cycle. So a couple of things which worked for me were that, yes, establishing this visibility as well as a credibility with people who are the guys who give out jobs, the L&D heads, and over a period of time with CHRs and so on and so forth. In fact, every CEO that I knew contacted, many of them whom I had trained and who were there in CEO positions today. Even till today, I haven't got any jobs from any of those companies. So it is completely different. And as this network increased and there was some flow and things started happening. And the early days, I started coaching for whatever I could get. $100 an hour was a great deal. And it was numbers. At a point in time, maybe 20, 30, 40, I was coaching at a point in time. And gradually, I moved out of it into being more selective and increasing my rates. So that is how I built my business. And I don't think there is any shortcut. You really have to, and I've seen people who struggle a couple of years in terms of building essentially just 2 words I would use: credibility and visibility. Your credibility comes from your own capabilities and skills and how good you are. And when you become a trainer and you are working with people, I still remember Leon Vanderpool when I asked him, why are you in training? You get paid nothing at that time, the institution that he was with. He said, no, but it gives me jobs. People come to me to be coached. And that is how I found this helped, and which also was true for me. When I started training, there were many people who I worked with, who I trained. They were from corporates. They had corporate influence, and through that, the business increased as well. And the second is the visibility, and the visibility happened through one being part of these institutions. And someone says here, is there an alternative to social media? To be honest, I don't think there is. Yeah, you can go and stand on each pulpit and present your message, but that's not going to be possible. Whereas today you have the reach with the social media. Much as I hate Facebook, much as I dislike many other things, LinkedIn is the only space that I would like to actually present myself as someone credible. But today as an organization, we find it's absolutely imperative for us to be in Instagram or Facebook or God knows whatever it is, tomorrow will come in addition to LinkedIn. So these are some of the things. And somebody has asked a question about niches, I think. I'm not quite sure who it was. I don't know. Zaina has asked, clarifying my niche. You know, there are hundreds of niches, okay? Grief coaching and whatever, wellness coaching and blah, 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 this, that, whatever it is. All that is great. But what is it that you want to do? If you just want to make an impact on individuals, fine. And if you have no intentions of making money, that's great. But if you really want to make money, in my very humble experience, the only way to make money is to go to the corporates, and they are the ones who are capable of paying. Otherwise, you would be like those $20 per hour people who are sitting there with crystal balls and saying, I'm a life coach. And when I travel to California, I see all over the place. And that's what they charge, believe you me. And so if that is what, I mean, that's a rate today in the US. You can go to, if you don't believe me, go to ICF. Go to the Find a Coach stuff. Register yourself. I taken it myself off there. And you get RFPs. Basically, people would say, okay, can you do it for $50 an hour or probably less? And they start bargaining with you. Fair enough. That's what people think. And there are organizations like, I think, David Goldsmith referred to it, somebody else referred to it, BetterUp, for example, which is offering $20 a pop. We would coach you. And they sign up with large institutions like IBM and so on, that no limit to the numbers, we will take you per person $1,000 and we'll coach as much as you want, or $10,000 and you can send us 100 people or whatever it is. So it's become like a mass market commodity. And so if you want to be differentiated from there, you have to be very clear that you have to, based on the credentials that you have, you need to establish that credibility in terms of this is what I am. And maybe it takes a little bit of time, but stick to a particular price range. And it's not easy, but that's the only way that I know. And that's the way I know many other people have done it, to be honest. Yeah, sorry, Cindy.
No. It's great what you're sharing, because there's some quality showing.
Your voice is very low, Cindy. I can't hear you.
I'll just take out my headset.
Yeah, it's much better now. Yeah.
Okay. You know, in what you're sharing, Ram, there were so many qualities or values that showed up, like perseverance. You know, if one thing is not working, then try something else and more options. There's no guarantee that, as you shared, that because you belong to the corporate and you work there for years, there's no guarantee that corporates are going to give you work at first attempt. But you keep pushing forward and you keep taking the next step and find other corporates that indeed will open the doors or listen to what you're proposing for, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So coaches, what are your corporate experience? Those of you that are doing coaching and for companies, what are your experiences?
Well, they are putting it down, Cindy. There's something from Chris. He's based in Italy, and he is coaching in English. So honestly, I have no idea. I mean, how I'm sure there are possibly some associations out there where you can contact them virtually, and there are agencies through whom there are agglomerators who collect that. For example, there's a company called Coach Source. Coach Source is probably the largest agglomerator for coaches in the world. You can go there and register, and if you like, you can give my reference for what it is worth. And they look at a number of factors. They have over about 1,000 coaches. It's your luck again. If you're based in Italy, unfortunately, what happens is many of these people, they want face-to-face coaches. So if I say I'm MCC, I'm Cats Whiskers or whatever it is, the question asked is, okay, I'm based in Silicon Valley. Will you be able to come to Pasadena or something and coach me or whatever? So then they would settle for whoever that is available in that space. So there's going to be a limited number who is available for virtual. But there are those, if you really sort of search coach agglomerators, there could be some who are in the virtual space. It's good to register with many of them initially. Maybe there's a bit of a ego loss, but what the heck? So if you get some jobs, you start with it. That is how you build your business. So I don't know, but I'm talking about like if you're in a country like India, or if you're in a country like United States or United Kingdom, whatever, you have very, very clearly those institutions which are about HR professionals. And so if you go there, I mean, putting it in a slightly different way, I've stopped going to all this coaches conventions. They make no sense to me. You are going there to meet people who are your competitors. And I don't know what you really learn from there. Cindy just went to Converge, so maybe she learned something. I don't know. If I'm asked to speak, I might go. But otherwise, it's much better going to a space where there are people who congregate, who are in a position to give you jobs. And perhaps you have a chance of talking to half a dozen of them, and you have a much better chance of impressing them and getting something. So that's the way my mind works.
Mm-hmm. So that's a good point, Ram. You know, so this is all part about business development and how you want to move forward with that. And there's all part of self-development and networking with your peers on interesting topics like leadership topics. So I like conferencing, at least these big coaching conferences, at least once a year. I'd love it because I love the space of meeting other coaches and us getting into, you know, really invigorating and sometimes debating coaching topics. And so that just fuels inside of me. It's something that I like doing. But I don't go there because I want to generate clients, because Ram is right. It's a buck for a buck, and we all live in a competitive way. But what does happen there is that while you're networking and you meeting people and people get to know you, you pick up clients or coaches that ask you to be mentors and, you know, some other self-development part of coaching. So it may not be for coaching, but of course, mentoring, supervision, and likewise for their self-development. So I get a lot of clients that want mentoring that comes out of these conferences. But mainly my passion for going is my own learning and development. And Chris, I also wanted to let you know that in the UK, ICF has what is called ICF Advance. It's a lovely conference. I have attended that twice already. And I think last year they went virtual, so coaches around the world could attend that without having to fly to the UK. So,
yeah, but Cindy, my question would be, attending an ICF conference or an EMCC or whatever, how does it help you to get jobs?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It does if you're a mentor and you get more mentoring clients out of it, right?
Yeah.
If coaches want mentoring, it
Right.
helps, or supervision. So it helps with that. You are getting work. But it doesn't help you get coaching clients as such. It's more your own development. You go there to meet other coaches, and it's your own development that you go.
Yeah, but for many of them who are here, I don't think they are MCCs or qualified in supervision. So that's it. I mean, we are talking about people like you and I at the MCC level or with supervision qualification. So they are either an ACC or PCC. And the question really is, how do I have invested a lot of money, significant amount of money, and I've got my credentials now. So where do I get my return? And that's really the question. And I don't think ICF helps there at all in terms of its conferences or the chapters. None of them do, to be honest. Okay. Yeah. You can hone your skills, which is all true. Fine, if you can do it where you are through virtual programs like what we are having, etc. But just addressing some of the questions, I don't know. Zaina has said, do you have a list of them? I don't understand list of what. So if you can put it down, I can try and answer that. Now, Meenakshi asked a question. Sorry.
I think she's talking about companies that hire coaches like BetterUp.
Look, I mean, you have pretty much, honestly, you have to take a list of Fortune 500 companies, and you have to try and figure out, go to LinkedIn, go for the premium account or something, and then look who are the people who are in the HR and L&D division. So it's not as easy as saying, sure, IBM hires coaches, Microsoft hires coaches, Google's hires coaches, Salesforce hires coaches, Citibank hires coaches. I can give you a whole list of them. So how does that help? You really need to get to the right person and present yourself before you do that. Some of the ways of doing that are through blogging. If your blog really hits it and people start seeing that something, you put tags like leadership or whatever it may be, coaching and so on and so forth. And if they get caught by the way, I don't know how many of you know how LinkedIn works. There are two things. One is you have to keep on figuring out that small little thing underneath your name, the tag that you put there. And once you put the tag, if somebody is looking for that kind of a tag, where are you? Are you in the first page of Google? Are you in the top 5 or top 10 that is coming up? Till you keep doing it, you have to keep refining it if that's what you want to do. Now, I put myself as some kind of a leadership mentor, coach, or whatever. I don't know where the heck I come in. I won't even come in the first 5 pages, but it doesn't matter to me at my age and whatever I'm doing. But for someone who's setting up business, Sridhar is not here. He trained with us for MCC. And I remember the days when he did his PCCA and we sat across, and for the first 1.5 years, he struggled. And then he really hit it because he just went on again and again back to LinkedIn, refined that tag, like a SEO kind of a thing, search engine optimization stuff, which was long tail executive coach in Bangalore, blah, 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 leadership, executive coaching, whatever it is, kept refining it till people who were looking for leadership executive coach in Bangalore, they found the number one, and he started building up his business. And to an extent, when later, a couple of times when I went to him saying, hey, Sridhar, are you ready to do some coaching? He said, look, Ram, for you, if you say so, I'll do it, but I'm quite busy. I'm turning down clients. So you can reach that. So you need to know how to work LinkedIn. So you have to read up a lot about, there is a tremendous amount of material available there. How can you get yourself up there in LinkedIn, visible? Similarly in Facebook, et cetera, and in blogging. There are, I mean, blogging, it looks so simple. A lot of people say, I blog, and they put there, nobody ever is going to read them, please. I mean, how you title your blog and how do you sort of begin the first sentence as just one sentence, which creates some kind of a mystery or some kind of a disruption, and you end with an action call. There is a technique to how do you write blogs. People like Huffington Post would not even accept your blog if they don't fulfill that criteria. And then you have to try and put them on LinkedIn or Medium or Huffington Post, any one of those, and see, can you hit 1,000? Can you hit 2,000? It's a lot of work. There are a couple of my blogs which hit about, I don't know, 8,000 or something. That was a streak, okay? I didn't have the sort of time and energy to go and every time do that kind of a stuff and get it done. But for some of you hungry for work, that is what you will have to really do. So,
so that's a good question you're raising. Wait, Ram, that's a good question you're raising, right? Because the question now is, what makes us attractive as coaches? There are other people who, you know, either find us or get attracted to what we're selling. And one of it you said is getting the right words. For example, for what you call it, optimization. So getting the right words in that makes you more visible or available in a search.
yeah.
So what else? What else? Coaches, what do you think? What else makes us attractive as coaches? It's this whole topic that on credibility and visibility. So there's a lot of coaches putting up posts on LinkedIn. I mean, there's a continuous thread happening all the time. But we don't buy things from them, right? Not everybody's buying stuff from them or buying the training program or the coaching services. But every now and again, you get one that you're attracted to and you purchase something from them. So what makes it attractive that we're buying it? Because then if we know answers to that, then we can make ourselves attractive, right? So what do you think? What makes a coach attractive? We know one is credibility, or the other maybe.
Yeah, while we are waiting for that to happen, quickly,
Yeah.
Chris is saying it was a torture. You're absolutely right. I mean, if it's torture, if you don't like writing, but if you like writing like I do, so it's not that difficult. And I mean, actually, if you said once a month you want to publish at least once a week or maybe twice a week. And if you go to these special blog advice columns, you'll find that they tell you which day of the month, depending upon where you are, which day of the week and what time you should put in. For instance, they say 6 a.m. in the US on a Wednesday, if you publish, that's the best time to hit people who are going to work and they are looking at it, or whatever it is, something like that. So there are some tricks to do this. Understanding clients, understanding, addressing their needs. Of course, absolutely. Same person, you asked about King. So is a target group, is it local or global? It's both. Somebody had asked that question, is it coaching or global or local? But more and more, I think it's global. You have the chances of getting, if you speak reasonably good English, and if you're able to communicate, and if you have a good credential and you are able to cite a few references. So the first thing is, can you create some good references? Even if you have to coach for free, for example, can you coach somebody in Citibank, for example, or a Microsoft, or an IBM, or Unilever, or something like that? And if you're able to do that, and you're able to get their testimonial out and put it on your website, and you can create a website for free in many places, doesn't matter initially, their tag will come up. It's worthwhile doing while you still can build up your own website. There's no need to spend a lot of money, or in LinkedIn. And if you're able to put those references out, it's going to make a huge difference. Yeah, Cindy, there are some questions coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, some good stuff's coming up. So coming back to this point we originally started with on how to get corporate clients, what are some of your tips? Those of you that are working with corporate clients, what are some of your tips that got you into corporates? So while you're typing, I'm assuming that you are typing, I'll share mine with you. When I first became a coach, it was 2005, and at that time there was not coaching was not so visible. So the demand for coaching and coaches was not a lot, especially not here in South Africa. And I did an executive coaching program in which one of the requirements of the program, we did it via teleconferencing. So to make up a class of coaches around the world attended. And there was only 6 of us. And one of the requirements that was written in our manual was that you must source a corporate client by the end of the program. And I was quite worried, how was I going to source this client? So I decided to do some cold emailing, and I kind of broke up stuffs into industry and thought, let me start with banking, the shortest and easiest to contact. And I searched on Google and found details for the HR person at banks and sent out perhaps about 10, the most, emails to all the banks. Not many. And to my surprise, and the email was not worded very fancy. I mean, if I look at it now, I think I'm quite embarrassed at my simplistic language there. But somehow it got somebody's attention, and I was invited to coach a client. And of course, they asked this lovely question, where are your offices? Which I don't know why they asked that, because most coaches still work from their dining room table. So I quite smartly said, no, I'll come into your company. I'll come into the company. And that gave me client number 2, client number 3. And before I knew it, I was coaching in 2 banks. And that opened up the space for me to get many other corporate clients because I figured out what was working and I repeated it with other industry. So if you're thinking in your head that you want to approach somebody for coaching, my best tip there, go ahead and do it. You would never know what's offer or what somebody else is going to invite you into their workspace. So I would say go ahead and try it. So I'm still waiting for more tips. That's right. Many corporates have coaching panels. And very difficult, once there is a panel established, it's quite difficult for other coaches to get in.
Yeah, it's a bit of a chicken and egg. In order for you to get into the panel, you need to know somebody, and it's not the other way around. So again, it goes back into, like you said, either I do cold mailing or cold calling, target people. I remember in the early days, I used to send out literally hundreds of, and like you, when I look back on those mails, I am embarrassed that I wrote such rubbish. But whatever it was, out of the 100, maybe if 2 worked, and that is how you started. And it's hard work, and it's also pretty ego-killing work. And when you find that it's like reading Martin Seligman in whatever that book is, where he talks about the insurance agents calling 10 people and all 10 of them rejecting, and still saying, okay, the next 2 guys will hit it because that's the law of probability, or something like that. So basically, you worked with some positive psychology and moved on ahead. I guess there is no other way for that. Do corporates issue tenders for? Some do, but typically, Chris, the answer is not always. You need to know, you need to have like the big agglomerating agencies like CoachSource and others, multiple ones. They establish a connection with the HR department. And so any opening that they have in terms of somebody coming up for coaching or whatever, they let you know. Similarly, the companies where I work, I have done work in the past, they will come back to me and say, hey, there's an opportunity opening up. So it really, one breeds another. Unless you are looking at things like the United Nations, for example. UN has, I don't remember the name, but the Global Marketing something United Nations. And they have a formal process. And in that formal process, you have to submit, you need to be empaneled first, and then you have to go to their site and keep looking at when they publish tenders. But there are very few agencies who are so bureaucratic like that. UN by its charter has to be. Many government, US government would probably do that. But if you look at the private companies, I don't know of too many private companies who really go out for tenders to coaching. Yeah.
Yeah, our tenders, well, in South Africa, our government tenders are advertised in newspapers and on the website, and we can all apply. So we get a chance to apply.
Do the coaching houses in turn tender out to team members? Yes. What they do is they don't tender out. What they would do is they have your specifications, locations, practice, etc. Are you from this? So they would select about a dozen people and they will send out mails to them and saying, hey, this person is from the IT industry and you seem to have some experience or banking. Would you be interested? And then they will put in a panel of about 4 or 5. And then it's up to the company to finally select somebody. And they may even go to, because there are other people who are competing for the same job, so they may not even get it. So multiple things like that happen as well. But it's always worth trying. List of coaching houses by geography. Look, the ones I'm familiar with, there is something called Forton, F-O-R-T-O-N in UK. Just look for it. There is Sloan, I think. She's in Australia. There is CoachSource in the United States. So you just have to, I found them through Googling. So if you're hungry, you will find them. And then you will have to just keep searching for them. It all depends on your luck at that point in time, who they are looking for and what your credentials are and so on.
So coaches, if you're building resources in the background or making notes, you probably get a sense that Google is your number one resource. So just keep Googling stuff and you may just find a very innovative something happening that you can step into.
Yeah, Meenakshi has sent this link of the Small Business Association. Yeah, absolutely. These are very, very good ways because they are very often they are very geographically location specific. Each state would have its own. And in your case, since you're familiar with agile coaching, there are more and more companies which are, even if they are not technology companies, they are looking to, in a way, align with agile coaching to be able to take them forward. So it's a matter of just putting yourself out and reaching to many of those people. And again, there are sites where there are forums within LinkedIn who might help you with that for agile coaches and so on and so forth. So, I mean, it's not about creating a list. It's just that you're going there, like Cindy was saying just now, use Google as much as you can and try and locate where you are. And you have to really open up the top of your funnel. How many people am I able to contact? Because the chances are that, to be honest with you, for most people, the success rate is about maybe 2%. If you're lucky, maybe 3%. That's where if you contact 100 people, 3 people might even respond to you, or 10 people might respond to you. So that is what one needs to do.
Yeah, don't be afraid, or don't wait. I find a lot of coaches say things like, when I get that, then I will contact so-and-so. When I become a PCC or an MCC, then I'll contact all the companies. Or let me complete that and then I would do that. Don't play that waiting game. You just heard Ram and I say those first emails we sent out was really embarrassing. I mean, I look at mine and I thought, whoever would want to hire me as an executive coach with an email like that? But you know what? It did. So you're as good as you are right now. So if you need to take a chance right now, go ahead and do that. Don't play this waiting game. It won't serve you. And also don't be fear-driven, I'm scared, or what if they don't want me? You won't know that. Just pretend that you are the best coach ever and go ahead and do it.
Absolutely. Every one of us is going to be rejected. Totally. Even today, if I submit, even if they reach out to me and I submit a proposal, the chances are probably 30% of the time I might get it, nothing more than that. Okay. So at the early stage, I think somebody asked, Kiska, in your opinion, what would give today a competitive edge to a novice coach? I would say becoming part of one of these institutions, like the, as I mentioned, SHRM and so on and so forth, making yourself visible. Visibility is most important because as a novice coach, you don't have, there are 2 critical areas, credibility and visibility. You still lack credibility. So the visibility is most important. And with the visibility, whoever you can get, if you start coaching and you start getting credibility, and the both of them go hand in hand. Blog, publish as much as you can, get, if you can, some speaking assignment based on whatever other skills that you have, why you are known, get into some of these committees. One of the things I did was to get into one of the committees of this national HR organization. That helped me a lot. It gave me visibility. I had credibility as a corporate leader. I had been a CEO and CEO of CEOs, but I had no credibility as a coach. So it took time for me to build up. Shanaz asked, what are your thoughts on packages? Ask them people who have got stuff through them and contact them. And you have to do it even with the reputed ones. Like Gallup was chasing me. They wanted me, yeah, if you can join, there are a lot of people who will join and all that. So I said, why don't you let me in free? I'll attend it. No, sir, I can't do that. I said, okay, give me a couple of people who you think have really benefited. So they gave me one name. So I called that guy. And he said, you know what? It didn't matter to me. I had the money. I just went for the course. So that is what happens. A lot of these people, I don't know whether they deliver or not. You have to really experience, otherwise it won't help. Don't corporates prefer a managed intervention? Not necessarily. There are some who do. Many of them have got disappointed with that, because at the end of the day, the people who manage that, they also provide in a different way. So most corporates actually keep their own counsel. They would also send out to these agglomerators who are, like you say, managed interventionists. And they would also have a panel through whom they would access. And believe you me, go with this approach. They are really looking for good coaches. And you are a good coach. And so present yourself. And what it requires is that the ability to present yourself, be persistent, and keep going back in one capacity or another. And it's not just coaching. It could be some form of consulting. It could be facilitated work. It could be systemic. Individual coaching is taking a back seat. Systemic coaching is order of the day because it's much cheaper. So these multiple skills you need to build up as well. And that is why it's not just for the heck of it, just because I get very passionate about systemic coaching, because I think that's the way the market is going today. So we need to be aware of that.
I also remember once, long time ago, attending one of those marketing seminars. And the only thing I remembered out of it was, who is your dream team? So I'm not big on marketing at all. I mean, most of my clients are word of mouth. But I remember this thing, who is your dream team? And it came across like some shiny bright object there that you'd run after, who is your dream team? But when I sat down and thought about it, my dream team could just be my own resources. Like, for example, Google, or other people I knew in corporates that could help me get in, or my own initiative and perseverance in doing something. It wasn't a big shiny object. It was you sitting down and carefully thinking and strategizing and leveraging of what you already have. So if you're already in an industry and you've created a name there for yourself, some kind of awareness or visibility for yourself, it becomes easier for the people there to buy your coaching services because they know you have provided value in another space, which raises this question. Perhaps your coaching need to be partnered with some other modality that you're already familiar with, like coaching and counseling, consulting. So if you were a consultant in a company or did work for some consultancy, and you build a brand around that, you could partner your coaching with that, which is like, already getting a step in. What do you think, Ram?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I think it somewhat combines with what Meenakshi is saying here. Even working with another person who's a well-known consultant, working with another person who's a well-known coach or someone, and in some way getting associated and moving forward with them, that helps a lot. A couple of other things which has come to my mind when I'm thinking about this is, there's this organization called BNI. Most coaches think that it's of no use to them. It's really for small-scale entrepreneurs and all that. I know coaches who have gone to BNIs and managed to get small-time entrepreneurs as their clients, and they built their business. And BNI, if you know, the Business Network International, I think it's called, it's all over the world. And they actually, each one of them promotes another person. And that's how the whole network builds up. So that's for someone who's starting new, I think it's an amazing organization. There might be similar ones which are specific to women, perhaps. Again, what is it called? Roundtable, whatever it is, where what is the one way they get you to speak, and there's a particular organization which does a lot of that. Toastmasters, for example.
Toastmasters.
Yeah. Again, it may seem as a completely way out kind of a stuff, but I have recommended to a few people, go there, they start speaking. There are other people who have come there, And somehow you make an impression in terms of how you speak, they get to know that you are a coach. So every one of these work. And if you have time on your hands and you are able to do that, many of these kind of things also, local areas, absolutely. Chambers of commerce, totally. These are some of the things that I use at that point in time, or Rotary Club. Any one of them, just get into communities where initially it may be purely free. And you don't know who are those people. Like Rotary, you have some very, very well-known people. They could be entrepreneurs, they could be major business guys who are there. You never know who you're going to impress. And so those are the ways that, at least initially, we need to establish ourselves. Alpha, I'm not quite sure what is alpha, but if it's one of those kind of communities where you could get some value, surely look for it. In India, I would say BNI, Toastmasters, there are business roundtables, Rotary Club, certainly. There could be Lions Club. There could be multiple of these organizations. And you could go there once in a while. And many of them are looking for speakers, believe you me. So if you have some skill and you can tell them, hey, how can coaching help you as a business person? How can help you in terms of nonprofit work or whatever it is? They would be quite happy to have you as someone who comes there, speaks, and you have the dinner with them and go, and you never know, even if we get one lead. And like, for instance, I mean, we have enough people now on board, but at some point in time, as we have vacancies, certainly as trainers, I think it makes a huge difference, because you have, like Cindy and I know, there are many people who come, fairly senior executives in companies. They come there, and if they have, they carry back, as they would, a very good opinion about our quality, then it's not a difficult thing to expect that you would get some jobs from them, or at least they would get a referral or something of that sort. So those are multiple ways through which you can develop these leads. Essentially, it's about growing the top of the funnel. Whatever means you have, grow the top of the funnel. Don't think that people are going to come to us. Nobody would come to us. We really need to reach out more and more. And you have to have the faith. You really have to have the confidence. You have to have the faith. Keep trying, falling down, getting up, moving forward. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, of course, those of you that love social media or that are open to it and know how to use it, please go ahead and then, establish yourself there with LinkedIn, Instagram, or whatever else there is. And because that itself will create some kind of visibility for you, right? Especially for a new coach. The same with blogging. I never took to blogging because honestly, I didn't know that I had it in me to do writing at a regular, in a regular pace. But again, how would I know that? You've got to challenge your own thinking around things. I also find that some coaches use groups to support each other. Like, for example, 3 or 4 coaches getting together once a month, brainstorming ideas on how to get work and how to get clients, and taking actions. The important thing is to take actions out of it. It's not just getting together to talk and have a cup of coffee. Take some actions and work on the actions and see where the results lie, which leg you can continue building on.
Okay, I don't see anything else that is very specific.
What's your view on alpha? I have no idea what alpha is. Ram, do you know?
No, I've never heard of it before. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I mean, generally, though it has not been asked, one of the other questions I get very often asked is, what about training in stuff like appreciative inquiry, TA, NLP? All those help, believe you me, or larger perspective on OD. But the point is, unlike even coaching, where today it has become a reasonably organized one, at least people are able to differentiate between the wheat and the chaff, as it were, in terms of who's credentialed, who's not. many of these others have, they are completely disorganized, unorganized cottage industries. And any guy who has gone through a program in any one of these things, then he comes up and says, I'm a trainer, I'm training you. So every guy who's a practitioner starts training practitioners in NLP or in TA or whatever. You just go by what they do. And some of these things take years and years and years. My own suggestion to all of you is, if you do, yes, it's really worthwhile knowing about them. There's no question about it. Read books. You would be surprised. There's a book called NLP for Dummies, which is the best book I have seen published on NLP, outside of Richard Bandler's own books, which are phenomenal. So if you read a few of those, Bandler's and stuff, and similarly on TA, Eric Berne and others, and similarly on artificial intelligence some of it by Cooper Ryder and so on. And those would give you sufficient knowledge in terms of how to deploy them. And similarly in certification, you don't have to pay huge amounts of money to get yourself certified for stuff like MBTI or whatever the big name, I don't want to name them, the psychometric tests. You can go to, we can do programs for you in terms of how you look. I'm Hogan certified. That's only because I like the guy. He was a good friend. I did that with him. But other than that, most of the others, even including Hogan, I had gone through before and I had worked on them. And you can do 80% what a certified one does. And no company, to the best of my knowledge, has ever asked me, even now that I'm Hogan certified, whether I'm certified. They don't care. They just talk to you. And if you're making sense to them, they say, that's fine. And today I can interpret MBTI better than most people who are certified in MBTI. And there's a beautiful site called 16 Personalities. And if you go there and you would understand far better stuff about MBTI and you would be able to do it. For instance, so one of the things that you can do is you can say, hey, I offer you these kind of things. You choose a few online testing sites. For instance, there is something called Richard Step, which provides a Gallup strength test, pretty much 80% of what Gallup would deliver for you. 16 personalities on MBTI, Enneagram. Learn a little bit about them and you say, hey, I will provide you interpretation on these. You and maybe some of your colleagues and so on and so forth. And over and above that, this is what I would do to coach you. So many of these can be value add for you. Instead of necessarily everybody is going for another course, paying good money after bad. I don't think that's really necessary. Again, this is a very, very personal opinion.
No, absolutely, Ram, because I used to have a personal philosophy on that.
Yeah.
Coach training is expensive.
Yeah.
So I used to tell myself, I'm going to earn this money back before doing another piece of training.
Yeah.
Because what's the point of me learning all this and keeping it for myself? I will earn it back via coaching. So I'm going to get enough clients to earn this money back. Then I will reinvest in myself, reinvest. But I had a personal philosophy to make that money back. So I didn't want to see a big hole in my pocket. I wanted to always, and that was a good thing because now you have this perseverance around going after clients, right? Or finding clients. So you're not going to sit back and just feel sad, I don't have clients. You just adopt an attitude that I will get clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing it's exactly what you were saying. You know, at what point do you use, so here's a tip, I'll stop the at what point sentence and say it differently. Continue your credentialing pathway, you know, and stay on that credentialing pathway. Don't give up too soon or right when you're at the top and stop credentialing. Because I'm sure Ram can also answer this, and MCC's on the call wants to contribute. When I became an MCC, I found doors that had opened, or even when I was a PCC, that I didn't even imagine. So I didn't say 2 years from now, I would like to do this, or next year I would like to do that, or that's my 5-year and 10-year plan. No, I just want invites and opportunities available to me that came to me. So there's something about the partnering of credentialing and credibility and visibility. and they seem to work together to create a sought after coach. And people get attracted to that. So if you're on a credentialing pathway, stay there and continue developing yourself.
Absolutely. Cindy, there's a question here. Again, it's on what are the key issues today organizations hire coaches for? And you probably answered that as the last question. Essentially, a couple of things. One is most organizations are looking for people who are mentors as well as coaches. Not in the sense of coach mentoring in terms of competencies, but who have the experience, who have walked the talk. And so pretty much if there's a CEO, the CEO is looking for someone who's been a CEO and a coach who would be able to do that, or some amount of domain experience and so on and so forth. I mean, we all believe, and we all keep saying that it's agnostic to industries and all that. It's not. As far as the HR persons are concerned, the L&D persons are concerned, because they would like some familiarity in terms of, so someone like Meenakshi, who's in the IT background, agile, and so on, you would be far more successful in going for that, or someone with a financial background in the banking industry. And they're also looking for people who can contribute more than just coaching. So if you can tell them that, look, I can help you a little bit with this and that, or whatever, maybe I can do a larger training in terms of changing culture. So essentially, the way that falls that I have seen is at the very, very senior level, it could be what they might call leadership development. It's our personal issues, that how I want to move forward, work-life integration. One level below it, what they call strategic. That means they have been functional managers, they are moving to general management. So they still get caught in controlling everything, providing solutions. How can we move away from that into something where we can co-create solutions and we can learn how to inspire and influence people, much more on people engagement. At a lower level, which is really the lowest hanging fruit for many people, where coaching is today not done that very well. The only way they would understand that is saying, okay, I'll train in a coaching style, and you can develop your own niche in that way. Very systemic, going to them. How do you teach them simple things like feedback, for example, the various levels of feedback? How do you can give, like a coach gives feedback, which is always developmental. It's not critical. Start with expectations, go with the same competencies as coaching is. This is the outcome that we had both defined for each other. How do you think you have performed? And explore that. And moving from there, let them figure out for themselves, what is it that they haven't done well enough, and so on and so forth. This is so, when they hear that, people say, oh my God, I've never done that. I've just looked at it and say, hey, this is what you've done wrong. Of course, that's the lowest level of feedback. So many of these small things which make a difference. So the corporates are looking for the maximum amount of the bang for the buck when they hire you. So the more you can give them, not just saying, oh, I sit here and explore, and my job is mainly, it's up to the client to do what the client wants, and what I can do is just to help them to create awareness, and that's not what the other guy wants to hear, to be honest with you. So we need to get away from that perspective of, yes, we have learned that the coach needs to be unobtrusive, invisible, etc. But the client wants to hear that I can make a difference. How do you still manage to do that? How do you convince them of it? That's really the key. And you need to work on that. Okay, so pretty much, Cindy, if you would like to close. Yeah.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Leverage what you have, take some bold steps, make people offers, you know. I will do a team coaching for you, so you're free of charge, so you can get an experience of it. And don't go in there to show how good you are. Add enough value, or the right kind of value, so people will discover how good you are and they'll want you repeatedly. Coaches, I hope this was of value to you. It was lovely being with you for the last hour. Thanks, Ram. And we'll chat to you all soon.
Thanks, Cindy. Thank you all. Thanks, all of you. Bye. Take care.
Bye.